So currently I'm in a long position for Bitcoin, which was sent out yesterday. The idea was that Bitcoin has been in a range since the 25th of March, so pretty much the start of this week. And we saw a deviation of the range lows right here, down to 68,400, and a strong reclaim of that level, and all the way back up to the range highs. And then we had a pretty strong retrace back down to 69,000. You can kind of see that as a retest of the range lows, and given the reaction so far, it sort of establishes that level as a key support, and that the range lows are likely to hold. So in that case, we can expect a move back up to the range highs over the next week. Looking at the higher time frame, it mostly aligns with the same sort of perspective. So looking at the daily chart, Alright, so we have this daily fair value gap right here, and it's been tapped a few times. And usually when these sort of fair value gaps on higher time frames are tested and are held successfully, what comes next is a sweep of liquidity on the other side of the market. So buy side liquidity up here at 73,800. So that's a sort of like longer term expectation. May take a few weeks to reach that sort of level, but right now it seems logical for price to seek out the buy side liquidity next. So looking at Ethereum next, so starting with the 4 hour, I pointed out that this inverted 4 hour fair value gap is the main resistance zone right now. So for long setups and for expansions, we need to see price closing above 3568 and holding above, and that could indicate some strength. But right now you can see that it's acting as pretty strong resistance, this blue box right here. And just generally, Ethereum has been following Bitcoin quite closely. If we have a quick look at the ETH BTC pair, you can see that nothing really to note for the past few weeks. You can see it's still been in a pretty strong downtrend, so this indicates that Bitcoin has been outperforming Ethereum. And on this chart here, it's back down to the range lows, so potentially we can watch for Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin, maybe over the next week or so. Right, we have the range lows here and the range highs here. It's near the range lows, so it seems reasonable that we can expect a stronger bounce up, move back to the range highs, and in that case, Ethereum would be stronger than Bitcoin. But for now, nothing too much to note for Ethereum. Right, and just a quick review of what we went through last week. I believe we discussed the setups for ICP, Bitcoin Cash, and SUI. So ICP was basically just a setup of EMA convergence. Right, so you can see the 4 EMAs on a 4 hour time frame coming together, compressing and crossing over, and that was basically the setup. Right? And another key aspect of that setup was relative strength compared to other altcoins. We discussed how ICP was showing bullish market structure compared to most alts, which were quite weak at the time, and you can see that it played out quite nicely. So comparative strength between alts is very important. And last week I also mentioned sectors moving together. So we talked about how the AI sector is sort of cooling off after the NVIDIA conference. And you can see since last week's stream, the price hasn't really done anything. It's going sideways, chopping in a small consolidation range, and same can be said mostly for the other coins. Ocean actually got some news, so it saw some expansion. FET was a bit stronger, but generally these sort of coins in the same sector move together. The other setup we looked at was Bitcoin Cash, which I think played out quite nicely as well. And again, it's just on the premise of relative strength between different coins. If you notice that one coin is demonstrating bullish market structure and order flow, it increases the probability of further expansions and long setups playing out, rather than trying to long something in consolidation. And then for Sui, we discussed the range breakout idea, which was the price breaking above the range and then having to react from the 4-hour order block and reclaim the value area high at the blue dotted line here. And on that sort of confirmation, you can see that the price expanded upwards and broke above the range highs. So yeah, let's have a look at a few coins. So this markup was from last week, I think. Yep. See if anything has changed. Yeah, so we can see this daily fair value gap here has inverted into resistance. Idea of inversion is just a basic support resistance flip. So this was originally a bullish fair value gap, which should be acting as support, right? Which it did for some time, and then once price goes below it, it inverts into resistance. So that's the basic idea behind it. Initially, I was looking for buy side liquidity to be taken out at some point, because we have these relative equal highs at around 0.16. But currently, you can see that the inverted fair value gap is acting as resistance. So in that sort of case, if price is continuing to be held back by that resistance zone, then it may instead look for the sell side liquidity down at 0.1159 instead. So seeking that out first before reversing and seeking out the other side. So kind of you can kind of see it as a trading range as well. Right, and usually with trading ranges, you want to look for buy setups below the value area low, which is right here at 0.134, and that's where the price currently is at. So for a bullish sort of argument, we have this 4-hour fair value gap, which is holding decently well. But overall, we can see how in the lower range and upper range perspective, the price is still in the middle of the range. So trades up a bit lower probability and also less favorable risk to reward. But to sum it up, it seems likely it sweeps out the sell side first before going for the buy side. But at this point, I wouldn't really look for a short on it because it's below the value area low. Looking at near next. If you guys have anything you want me to chat, just throw it into the chat as well. So overall on the daily chart, it looks decently strong. Right, the main trend obviously is still uptrend, and it's still in bullish order flow. Only thing is it's created a lower high here at 8.12. but at its current price, it seems that long positions are more favorable. So we have this daily fair value gap in alignment with the 4-hour fair value gap. So potential trade entry could be something like this here. So stop loss below the fair value gap candle. Idea is for price to hold this daily fair value gap and 4-hour fair value gap, and targeting the buy side liquidity. Only thing about this is that there are equal lows here that could be swept out first before a strong reversal, but in terms of risk to reward, it seems quite favorable. So I'll put this in watch lists, and we can consider for an entry. Okay, looking at WIF. So higher time frame is still very strong bullish order flow, meaning fair value gaps and order blocks are being respected well. So if bullish order flow were to continue, this order block here needs to hold. So it's from 3.88 to 4.20. In my opinion, it's sort of given a reaction already. So for price to come back down again is not a great sign. Going down to lower time frames. It's all a bit ambiguous, right? It can just be retracement into the order block, a little bit of consolidation before the next expansive move up. But yeah, with these sort of low cap coins, it's pretty hard to tell when those sort of moves can happen. So if you're in a long right now, the hard invalidation point would be a candle closure below 3.88. And looking at the daily time frame, obviously it's all very strong. So for these sort of coins, the moves are quite volatile. So lower leverage is better practice. Yeah, you can see like even this small move is 10% on the chart, which is quite a bit, even on like 5 times leverage, right? It liquidates 7 times leverage, just from moving from the highs here down to the low right here. So I'll look at INJ, and then I might as well look at the other larger caps as well. So last week I did discuss that this blue box was a potential reversal zone, being the range lows and the 2 and 2.5 extension target, and did sort of give a nice reaction, almost 20%, but still we can see on the bigger picture INJ is still very much in a trading range, and in a trading range the practice is to look for longs at and below the value area low, which is at 34.04, and to look for shorts above the value area high. And this breakout here was obviously a deviation point. So what we can potentially see for the next week is deviation of the range lows and then re-entering the range. Right, but it's almost at the point where you can look for long positions. Maybe just a little further regarding the retrace and the move down. I'll look at Pepe next. So usually the meme coins like Pepe, Sheeb, and Floki kind of move together. WIF has sort of been outperforming quite a bit lately, but the general picture is that they're all part of the meme basket and move quite similarly.
I posted the triangle that I had on Pepe. So I don't know if it's invalidated or if it's even valid,
Yep,
but
I'm
I
just
had
having
on
a
my
look at it
chart.
now. Sure. Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, so upper trend line I think is valid. 3 touches is good. It's a breakout, but yeah, the retracement is quite steep if we're taking it from a trend line perspective. So I think actually one way we can look at it is it's been sort of forming a price range since mid this week, which is from 0.006 to 0.0088, and you can see like it sort of swept above the highs here, and it sort of saw a very strong rejection down almost 10% so far. So to reload the long positions, just look to enter at and below 0.0076. So for now, I'd say the upper trend line is unlikely to give another reaction. We can instead just look at it as a sort of range right now.
All right, thank you.
No worries. And you can see like Floki and Sheep kind of look pretty similar as well. Sheep hasn't been that volatile, so probably not really worth trading that much. Floki is the same idea, so it's sort of trading range. So longs below 0.228 will be good. Alright, so I'll just look at the sort of large caps real quick as well. So AVAX has basically just been going sideways this whole time. So again, it's a trading range. So you can look to long below 52.47. Given how long this consolidation has gone on for, next week it seems likely you can see a more expansive move. But yeah, generally these large caps move quite closely with Bitcoin. So if we do get the bullish week for Bitcoin next week, these large caps can definitely see a pretty strong reaction. Solana has been a bit stronger than AVAX in terms of like holding its general uptrend and bullish market structure, and not just like going sideways and being stuck at the same price. So that's a good sign. We can look to long on a retrace. So the first zone I'm looking at is at about 189. So yeah, just yesterday it sort of swept out the highs here, and you can see that's why it's been rejecting a little bit. So after a sweep of highs, if the price is bullish, usually what happens is it goes back to fill in a fair value gap, and then we can sort of see a stronger reaction. So yeah, 189.5 is the area to look at for now, which is also in alignment with the daily order block. So bias for Solana is still bullish. We can look to long on the retracement, and if it follows that Bitcoin is bullish for next week, it can also see a strong expansion. Is there anything else you guys want me to check? So let's sort of just work through the different sectors real quick, and then we can kind of have an idea of what to watch out for next week. So I said before, the large caps is mainly dependent on Bitcoin, and then the AI sector. So FET and Ocean has been stronger than RNDR, so I'll prefer for a long position on Ocean and FET if possible. So on Ocean, I have this breaker block marked out here, and as long as price doesn't go below 1.27, I think it should still be valid, and we can see the next leg of the expansion. So we can probably see something like this. So yeah, Ocean is on my watch list for an expansion next week. I'll look at Arbitrum real quick as well. So I believe Renfred had a long position on this based on the harmonic pattern, and this also kind of lines up with the daily time frame as well, because we have this sweep of the low here at 1.54 and a strong buyback, but after that the reaction has been pretty underwhelming. But I'd say as long as the price doesn't go back below this low at 1.54 and also holds above the 200 EMA on the daily time frame, it should see an expansion at some point. But this consolidation has been going on for quite a while. So if you're looking to trade this, it might have to hold it for a long time. It's kind of similar actually to coin like Link, where they usually just move in consolidation and then quick manipulation and expansion. You can see Link here also has been stuck in a range since February, and the trade entries has just been a quick buyback or sell-off after a sweep of either side of the range. Right, sweep of range highs, quick move down, sweep of range lows, quick move back up. So I think probably what this means is that it's still waiting for Bitcoin to make a decision before seeing a more expansive move itself. Right, so you can see very similar to Link before, except the trading range is quite a bit more narrow. We have the value area low at 1.63. So if you're looking to build a long position, have 1.63 set as your alert, and you can begin to add to your long positions below that point. Low leverage, of course, because of how long the trade may take to play out. So pretty much just you can add to longs about here, but if price goes below 1.54, you can strongly consider cutting the position. Right, so potential drawdown is about 6%. Right, I'll have a look at the other coins mentioned here as well. RVN first. Yeah, so ARB is getting quite narrow, so yeah, expansion probably within the next few weeks, but it does require a lot of patience, and it's probably relying on Bitcoin as well. Alright, so RVN, actually, it's not on my watch list. I haven't noticed this move yet, and yeah, it's very strong. So with these sort of like vertical movements, it's pretty hard to tell when they'll actually stop. Right, a lot of people go to the very high time frames, like the weekly chart, to sort of project that. And the danger with doing that is that you're using price levels from like 2 years ago, and those sort of levels might not really be that reactive after so long. But we do have resistance at 0.076 based on the weekly time frame. But for trading opportunities, it's mainly the lower time frames we want to look at. So these sort of pretty much up only sort of price action, you basically just want to look for any retracement to enter into a long position. So any retracement that fills in inefficiencies like fair value gaps or sweeps out local sell stops can be a long opportunity. So what we have here is the swing low here. So if we do get a retrace like so, that would be a good opportunity. So what you can do is have this level marked out for a price alert, 0.056 and then watch to see if it goes deeper into the fair value gap. But if it does not go deeper, and on lower time frames you sort of see a strong buyback after sweeping the low, then you can just enter in straight away. So Litecoin is doing the sort of expansion and retracement move, and usually what I can do with those sort of movements is draw a fib from the swing low right before the expansion to the peak, and just keep an eye on the golden pocket zone at 0.618. In this case here, it does align with the breaker block as well. So if we want to see a further expansion, we can look to enter from 99.6. But in terms of its upside target, it has actually already reached the high from early March at 105.86. So it can actually be topped out and be forming a range. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to enter based on a retracement and further expansion. And in case of a trading range, it would be from something like 77.6 to 105.86. I'll check out ORDI and ICP as well. So right away, you can notice here we have the EMA compression, which is a good bullish sign for a further expansion. We also have a local range breakout, so that's good as well. And from what I can see so far, it's sustaining the breakout. Right, we had the initial rejection, but strong buyback and continuation. So longs do look pretty nice here. Swept out the previous swing low as well. So you can see it's breaking out of the range. So for a trade setup, if you're looking to enter now, you can have a wider stop loss below the EMAs, or you can just set the stop loss below the order block at 68.51. and then you can just target the previous highs at 85.175. That's a valid setup, and it seems fairly high probability as well. Just a quick look at lower time frames. It's just sort of consolidating a little bit, so you can get a bit of drawdown, but the validation is quite clear. Yeah, so ICP, the expansive move is probably done. So let's have a look at like what it generally does after a large expansion. So it can consolidate for a while and see another expansion upwards, and the trigger point for that is a sweep of lows with strong buyback, or after a strong expansion it can just go sideways for a very long time. So it's not really something I'm looking to trade right now, but in terms of the current price action, it's holding the 4-hour order block, so that's good. But you can see it's rejecting the highs, right? It's sort of closing with fairly bearish candles, right? The sort of hammer candles with the long wicks up, so that's not a good sign. So in my opinion, I'd say I estimate a deeper retrace. We can have a look again next week and it'll probably be a clearer picture. So yeah, riff I mentioned was it's a sort of up only price action, and you just go to lower time frames and look for any reason to go long. And in this case here, the strong invalidation point is 3.89 in my opinion. So that is a drawdown of almost 8% from the current price level. So obviously your leverage should be something like 3x, and that's reasonable because the price is very volatile, and even on 3x you can get quite sizable gains just due to how large the expansive moves have been. Okay, I'll repeat Pepe as well, and then afterwards I'll have a look at RSR and YGG. So what I said about Pepe coin before, so we did have this trend line here. It's a valid trend line because it has 3 touches. So in terms of trend line perspective, it is retesting the trend line, but it's not giving much of a reaction. So I'm thinking it's just forming a horizontal range, and we can look to long more confidently at 0.759. Right, so I'll set this as a price alert. But just in general, it's obviously still bullish, so we favor long positions on this. It's just a matter of timing and entry to avoid the drawdown and to avoid holding the position for too long. Right, so I didn't have this on my watch list before, but it's definitely looking quite interesting. So you can see last time it tapped the daily fair value gap and saw a further very strong expansion. This time it tapped again and gave a reaction, but it retraced the entire move and turned it into a bearish hammer candle. So in this sort of perspective, I think we can have a stronger retracement, which would also sweep out the stop losses at this current level. So we can go a bit deeper before the next expansive move, but definitely it's looking very strong. But yeah, just be aware of the different possibilities as well. So I'm leaning towards just a slightly deeper retrace and then expansion again. But you can see from previous price action, it can also deviate below the range lows before seeing that expansive move. So it can also do this as well. So basically two different setups. First one gets stopped out. We look for a re-entry if there is a reaction given at 0.0077. Right, you can sort of just play it something like this. But I wouldn't consider short positions for this just due to how sudden and extreme the expansion can be. So if you short this without a stop loss, you can be trapped quite easily. Let's have a look at yield games. Yeah, so this zone here was the retracement zone. So it retraced, went down, and then it expanded again. So I think that suggests it's in its next expansion phase, and you can expect it to move higher all the way to 1.7. In terms of a long setup, that's a bit more difficult to find an entry, just due to where we can put the invalidation point. Alright, you can maybe try something like this. Right, just set it at the swing low, because this swing low did fill the 4-hour fair value gap. And if we're expecting continuation, it shouldn't really go back below this swing low here. And then just target the level 4 extension at 1.7. So this setup will be 4.6 risk to reward, but it's fairly likely to get stopped out. So you can actually set a wider stop loss for the expansion candle down to 1.237. That would reduce the risk to reward, but makes it more likely to play out without getting stopped out. But yeah, I favor this sort of setup for now. And in terms of price targets, I do prefer using these extension levels rather than going onto the higher time frames and going all the way back, just because of how those really old price levels don't really give too much of a reaction after so long. Check out TIA as well. So we got a sweep of this early month low at 13.53, which is good, and it gave a strong buyback and a retest of the range lows, held successfully as support, so that's a bullish sign. It's just struggling to break out at the moment. So we had an attempt at going above the value area high of the current range, but you can see the 200 EMA is also giving a resistance. So for a breakout setup, I'll prefer if the price can go back above the value area high at 14.98 and be able to hold above it this time, and also hold above the 200 EMA, and then we can expect more strength. But at the current moment, it might just continue ranging between around 13.3 to the value area high at 14.95. So I'll set a price alert for 15.05. If it goes above there, we can see if it's able to sustain the breakout, and if it does, we can consider a long position. So 2 days ago, called a banned long position. It gave a good initial reaction, 3%, not quite to the target, and since then it's just been going sideways and consolidating. The main idea behind this was the compression and convergence of the 4-hour EMAs. So as long as the price is able to hold above these EMAs, it should still be okay. If it goes below, then we can consider cutting the setup. But for now, it seems okay. It's about 1.5% drawdown from the entry point. It's just going sideways, and with these sort of EMA expansions, it can take a little bit of time before we see the expansive move. Alright, cool. So I'll probably end it here. So for the setups that we discussed, I'll throw them into watch lists, and you can have a look at it on your own charts and consider if an entry is worthwhile. I'll also keep an eye on those as well. This will be uploaded to YouTube if you wish to view this later. But yeah, overall, expecting a fairly bullish week. It's just a matter of picking the right coins to long. I've sort of gone through the key levels I'm looking at for several of the coins, and I'll keep you guys updated on the watch lists. So thanks for tuning in. Have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you guys again next week, same time.